So, the generative AI boom has created this absolutely massive wave of new startups. It's exciting, right? But now that some of the hype is starting to settle, a really important question is popping up. Are these new companies actually built to last? Well, a pretty stark warning from a Google VP suggests that for a lot of them, the answer might be a big no. Let's break down exactly why. First things first, to really get why this warning matters, you have to appreciate the scale of this moment. We are, without a doubt, in a full-blown AI gold rush. The explosion of innovation and new companies has just been staggering, with seemingly everyone racing to stake their claim. I mean, at the peak of the frenzy, it seriously felt like a new AI startup was being minted every single minute. Venture capital was just flowing like water, incredible ideas were taking flight, and the sense of possibility was absolutely electric. But now, as that initial dust settles, a much more sober, more complex picture is starting to emerge. And this is where that warning from Darren Morey comes in. He leads Google's global startup organization, so he sees everything. And he's arguing that many of these shiny new companies have a really serious problem hiding under the hood. As he puts it, their check engine light is on, which is a big signal that their fundamental business models are at risk. Okay, so what's causing this check engine light to start flashing? Well, Maury points his finger at two very specific and, I should add, very popular business models that he believes are facing some serious headwinds right now. Let's take a closer look at each one. First up is what's called the LLM wrapper. So what is that? It's basically a company that takes a powerful pre-existing model, like OpenAI's GPT or Google's Gemini, and just builds a user interface or some kind of product layer right on top of it. Think of an app that uses an LLM to help students study for their exams. It's a super popular approach, but as we'll see, it comes with a hidden risk. The second model, he says, is at risk is the AI aggregator. These are platforms like the developer tool OpenRouter that give you access to a whole bunch of different AI models all through a single interface. They kind of act as a middleman, taking your request and sending it to what they think is the best model for the job. And this, too, is a dangerously fragile place to be. But here's the crucial distinction Maury makes. The problem isn't wrapping an LLM itself. The problem is being a thin wrapper. A thin wrapper is a company that basically just puts a new coat of paint on someone else's model. It adds very little of its own secret sauce, its own intellectual property. On the flip side, a deep moat startup uses an LLM as just one tool in its toolbox to solve a super specific problem, building its own sustainable value along the way. So what does a deep moat look like in the real world? Think of companies like Cursor, which is an AI coding assistant, or Harvey AI, which is built specifically for legal professionals. These guys aren't just thin wrappers. No way. They are deeply, deeply integrated into a specific, complex workflow, and that creates a wide, defensible moat around their business. The value they give you goes way beyond what the base AI model alone could ever offer. Now, if this whole dynamic, a big platform threatening to absorb the little startups built on top of it, if that sounds familiar, it should. For a tech veteran like Morey, this is total déjà vu. He's seen this exact same pattern play out before, way back during the rise of cloud computing. Let's just hop in the time machine for a sec. Back in the late 2000s, Amazon Web Services launched. It was revolutionary, but it was also really complex. So that created an opportunity, and a whole wave of startups popped up to act as resellers, basically simplifying things like billing and support. But what happened next? Well, Amazon saw what was happening and just built its own enterprise-friendly tools, which made most of those reseller startups totally redundant. And you know who survived that wave? The only ones left standing were the ones that added significant, unique value. They didn't just resell cloud space. They offered specialized services like enhanced security or complex migration support or deep consulting, stuff that AWS itself wasn't providing. And that brings us right back to today. Maury's argument is that these AI aggregators are simply the new cloud resellers. They are facing the exact same existential risk of being squeezed out as the big model providers, like Google and OpenAI, inevitably build out their own enterprise features and their own routing capabilities. Okay, so we've identified the big threat. The obvious question then is, what's the solution? How does a new AI startup avoid this trap and build a business that not only survives this shakeout, but actually thrives? When it comes to giving advice to new founders, Maury does not mince words. His message is incredibly direct, totally unambiguous. Stay out of the aggregator business. In his mind, the risk of the platform just making you obsolete is simply too high to build a lasting company on. So, the key takeaway for any founder is that you have to build something unique. Both investors and customers are getting a lot more sophisticated now. They don't want to see a flimsy product that just passes requests to another company's model. They want to see genuine, defensible intellectual property that creates real, lasting value. So, if the advice is to avoid being a thin wrapper or an aggregator, where should founders be digging for gold? Well, fortunately, Maury also highlights several new frontiers where he sees massive potential for real, sustainable innovation. He's particularly bullish on four key sectors. First, you've got developer platforms, like the ones we've already talked about. Next is direct-to-consumer tech, which puts these powerful new AI tools directly into our hands. And finally, he points to two massive, data-rich industries, biotech and climate tech. And why those two specifically? It's simple, really. Both biotech and climate tech are fields that are just swimming in incredible amounts of super complex data. And AI is the absolute perfect tool to make sense of all that data, to unlock insights and create tangible value in ways that were just impossible before now. Ultimately, Maury's warning cuts right to the heart of the ambition behind any new venture in this AI gold rush. The fundamental question for every founder, for every investor, is this: are you just building a temporary tool that relies on someone else's platform? Or are you building a lasting company with its own unique, defensible value? Because in the age of AI, that distinction is going to make all the difference.